There is a silent force shaping your life right now, and most people never see it until years are gone. It is not luck. It is not talent. It is not even motivation. It is the pattern you repeat when nobody is watching. The thought you think first. The feeling you obey too fast. The reaction that happens before you even notice it. And if you do not take control of that pattern, it will keep writing your days, your choices, your mood, and your future. That is why this matters. Because one small habit can slowly build a strong mind, and one unnoticed habit can quietly break your peace. So listen carefully. If you have been trying to change but keep falling back, if you feel like your old self keeps pulling you into the same cycle, if your mind knows better but your life keeps repeating the same thing, then stay here. This is for you, not tomorrow. Now, because the real battle is not outside. It starts in the hidden space between impulse and action. It starts in the second before you give in. And once you understand that second, once you learn how to use it, your whole life begins to move in a different direction. Watch this part closely, because what seems small in the beginning is often what changes everything in the end. When old patterns try to return, the first thing you must do is see them clearly. You cannot break what you refuse to notice. Most people are trapped not because they are weak, but because they are unaware. The pattern feels normal, so they follow it. The reaction feels natural, so they trust it. The habit feels familiar, so they protect it. But what is familiar is not always helping you. Sometimes what feels normal is the very thing that keeps you stuck. So look at yourself honestly. See what repeats. See what drains you. See what no longer fits the person you are trying to become. This is where real change begins. Not in pretending, not in talking, in seeing. And after seeing, replace. That is the next step. Do not only fight the old habit. Put something better in its place. Because a pattern is built by repetition, by consistency, by what you do again and again until it becomes easier than thinking. That is why doing nothing for 6 days and giving everything on one day does not build much. It only creates short excitement. Real change grows through steady action. Small action, repeated action. A few minutes every day can shape a new identity more deeply than one dramatic effort once a week. This is not flashy, but it works. And what works quietly often lasts the longest. Your mind does not keep repeating habits because they are bad. It repeats them because they became efficient. It learned the path. It memorized the move. It found a faster way to get from trigger to action, and now it uses that road without asking your permission. That is why destructive habits can feel so easy. They are already practiced. They are already smooth. They ask less energy from you than something new. And that is also why healthy habits often feel hard in the beginning. Not because they are wrong, because they are not wired in yet. This matters more than most people realize. Many people start change with huge promises. They want a new body, a new life, a new discipline, a new mindset all in one day. They go too hard, too fast, then collapse and think they failed. But the problem was never the goal. The problem was the size of the first step. Change does not need a heroic beginning. It needs a repeatable beginning. Something so simple you can still do it on your worst day. 1 page, 10 breaths, 5 push-ups, a short walk, 1 paused reaction, 1 better choice. Do not underestimate what the brain does with small repeated acts. It starts to trust them. It starts to choose them. And the day you no longer need to force the habit, that is the day the change becomes real. Stay with this, because this is where most people quit too early. The way you look at difficulty decides what difficulty becomes inside you. The event itself may be hard. The conflict may still hurt. The pressure may still arrive without warning. But what happens next depends on the meaning your mind gives to it. This is where everything changes. Many people see discomfort and immediately read it as a stop sign. They think resistance means they should turn back. They think challenge means something is wrong. So their mind learns to avoid anything that stretches them. But if you begin to see discomfort as a sign of growth, then the same moment teaches you something completely different. The pain is not worshipped. The struggle is not romanticized. It is simply understood in a new way. A difficult season can either shrink you or train you. A conflict can either poison you or sharpen you. A setback can either become an excuse or become a doorway. The outside event may not change, but the lesson you draw from it changes your future. That is why perspective is not decoration. It is direction. You cannot always control what comes to you. You cannot rewrite the past. You cannot command the world to become soft just because you are tired. But you can decide what will be created inside you because of what happened. And that inner decision, repeated often enough, becomes a new mental pattern. Listen closely. This is not about denying pain. It is about refusing to let pain be the final author of your mind. The mind is powerful enough to build peace and powerful enough to destroy it. The same mind that helps you create discipline can also create fear. The same mind that lifts your life can quietly work against it. So the question is not whether the mind is strong, it is whether you are using it well. And one of the clearest ways to begin is by returning to the present moment. Not as an idea, as a practice. The present is the only place where you can actually act. You cannot breathe yesterday. You cannot touch tomorrow. You cannot repair your life inside imagination alone. You need to come back to what is real now. The breath is real. The sound around you is real. The movement of your body is real. The pressure of your feet on the ground is real. This is why simple practices matter. They bring the mind back from its endless wandering and place it where life is actually happening. And when attention returns to what is real, something changes. The automatic loop weakens. The old pattern loses momentum. You stop being dragged by every thought that passes through you. You begin to notice the gap between thought and action. And inside that gap, control begins. Not perfect control. Real control. Quiet control. The kind that does not need to announce itself. Just come back again and again. That is all. But do not mistake simple for weak. The smallest return to the present can interrupt a chain reaction that would have controlled your whole day. Attention is one of the most underrated forces in a human life. Wherever your attention goes, your inner world starts to follow. Whatever you repeat with attention grows stronger. Whatever you starve of attention begins to lose power. This is why awareness can break patterns that motivation never could. When you bring full attention to one breath, one movement, one sound, one ordinary action, the mind is no longer fully available for its usual automatic story. It has been interrupted, it has been redirected. And that small interruption matters more than it seems. Because most habits do not rule you through force. They rule you through speed. They happen before awareness arrives. So if awareness arrives earlier, the whole sequence changes. This is why presence is not passive. It is active training. When you eat, actually taste the food. When you walk, feel your steps. When the sun touches your face, notice the warmth. When you are tired, feel the tiredness instead of escaping it immediately. When you speak, know that you are speaking. When you listen, really listen. These are not tiny things. These are ways of reclaiming your life from autopilot. And the more often you return, the more natural it becomes. Not because life became easier, but because your attention became steadier. And when attention becomes steady, experience becomes vivid again. Stay here for this part, because many people are not missing life because life is empty. They are missing life because their attention is always somewhere else. Awareness is what makes life feel real. Without it, even beautiful moments pass through you like wind through an open window. Nothing lands. Nothing stays. You work for something, achieve it, and still do not feel it because your mind is already somewhere else. Thinking about last week, worrying about next month, replaying old pain, imagining future danger. And while all of that is happening, the only moment you can live is being missed. This is why enjoyment is not only about having more, it is about being more present with what is already here. You cannot enjoy a meal you are barely tasting. You cannot rest in a body you are not feeling. You cannot love a moment your mind refuses to enter. Real enjoyment needs awareness. Real peace needs awareness. Real gratitude needs awareness. Otherwise, life becomes a blur of unfinished noticing. And this is one of the deepest losses because the ordinary parts of life are often the richest when you are fully there for them. A quiet morning, a cool breeze, water on your hands, the sound of someone laughing in the distance, a simple walk, a full exhale after stress. These things are not small when you are awake enough to meet them. The mind always says life is somewhere else, later, after the next goal, after the next result. But life is not waiting in some future perfect moment. Life is here now, and your awareness is what opens it. Keep listening because this shift alone can change the texture of your whole day. To see what is really happening inside you, you must learn how to step back from the emotion while it is happening. Not after the damage, during it. That is one of the hardest skills and one of the most important. Because when you are fully inside anger, fear, shame, or frustration, it feels like the emotion is the truth. There is no distance. Whatever you feel seems final. Whatever story the mind tells in that state sounds completely convincing. But the moment you create a little space, the picture changes. You begin to observe instead of obey. You begin to notice instead of merge. You can say, this is anger rising, this is hurt speaking, this is pressure building, this is my old pattern trying to take the lead. That single shift is powerful. Now the emotion is present, but it is no longer the only voice in the room. Most people lose control in small, ordinary moments, not dramatic ones. A tone of voice, a message, a look, a delay, a small disrespect, a tiny disappointment. That is where the pattern sneaks in, quietly, quickly, and by the time they notice, they are already reacting. That is why calmness must be trained before the storm, so that when the emotion arrives, some part of you is still able to see. This does not mean becoming cold. It means becoming clear. Clear enough to recognize that feelings are real, but they are not always accurate instructions. And when you stop acting from the middle of the storm, your next move stops being automatic and starts becoming chosen. When anger starts building, the first sign is usually not a shout. It is tension. The jaw tightens. The chest hardens. The breath changes. The body begins to prepare for a reaction before the mouth even speaks. That early moment is precious, because it is the moment where interruption is still possible. If you miss it, the emotion gathers speed. If you catch it, you can change the outcome. This is where the breath becomes more than breath. A deep inhale, a slower exhale, not as a trick, as an intentional release, like opening a valve before the pressure becomes too much. You breathe and you know exactly why you are breathing. You are not escaping the feeling. You are creating space around it, then add direction. Add a sentence. Something simple. They may not see clearly. They may not know better. I do not have to become this reaction. I can let this pass through without becoming it. This kind of inner language matters. It changes the meaning of the moment. It softens the urge to attack, defend, or explode. And when this reframe is joined with compassion, even a small amount, the energy begins to shift. Not always all at once, but enough. Enough to stop harm. Enough to slow the chain. Enough to choose a better move. Remember this. Reactions do not begin at full force. They grow, which means they can also be interrupted while they are still growing. That is a massive advantage if you train yourself to notice early. A strong life cannot be built on a weak center. If your peace depends completely on what happens outside you, then your peace will rise and fall with every changing condition. One good message and you feel high. One bad day and you collapse. One success and you feel worthy. One rejection and you feel empty. That is not stability. That is dependence wearing the mask of normal life. Real strength starts earlier than that. It starts when you wake up with some part of yourself already grounded before the world begins making demands. Already full enough not to beg the day to prove your value. Already steady enough not to make every outside event the judge of your inner state. This does not mean you stop enjoying life. It does not mean you reject beauty, comfort, success, or pleasure. It means you stop asking those things to hold together what should have been built within you first. Enjoy them, yes. Love them, yes. Use them, yes. But do not become dependent on them to feel alive. Because what the world gives, the world can also take. Conditions change. Seasons change. People change. Access changes. Energy changes. If your whole sense of peace is tied to what is unstable, then your mind will live in fear of loss. But if you build inwardly first, then what comes from the outside becomes something you can appreciate without needing it to complete you. This part matters more than it seems, because many emotional problems are not random. They grow from trying to get inner security from outer things. So build yourself, strengthen your mind, clean your habits, sharpen your awareness, make yourself more stable before the pressure arrives, not only after it crushes you. Invest in the invisible parts of your life. The quality of your thoughts, the speed of your reactions, the way you speak to yourself when nobody hears it, the things you do when you are bored, tired, irritated, lonely, or unseen. That is where your life is really being shaped. not only in public moments, in private repetitions, in the uncelebrated choices, in the mornings when discipline is quiet, in the evenings when you could numb yourself but choose to stay conscious instead. And understand this clearly, internal stability is not built in one revelation. It is built through many returns, many corrections, many moments of noticing, pausing, and choosing again. Some days you will do this well. Some days you will fall back into old movements. That does not erase the work. It is part of the work. Every time you return on purpose, you are teaching the mind a new direction. Every time you pause before reacting, you are making space for a new pattern. Every time you bring attention back to what is real, you loosen the grip of what is automatic. This is slow power, invisible power. But it becomes visible in the way you carry yourself, in the way you recover, in the way you stop letting every mood become a command. Keep going, because the next layer is where the whole message comes together. What changes your life is often not one giant breakthrough, but a new relationship with the small moments you used to ignore. The 1 second before checking your phone again. The one breath before speaking from anger. The one pause before following the same tired thought. The one decision to stay present during an ordinary task instead of escaping into noise. These moments look too small to matter, so people throw them away. But your future is built out of moments exactly like these. This is where identity is trained. This is where self-respect grows. This is where discipline stops being a performance and becomes a way of being. And this is why you must stop waiting to feel perfectly ready. Readiness is often created in motion. Clarity is often created in action. Strength is often created under friction. If you keep waiting for the perfect mood, you will remain a servant to mood. If you keep waiting for easy conditions, your habits will always be fragile. Start where you are. Start with what is in front of you. Bring more awareness into the next conversation, the next meal, the next walk, the next wave of irritation, the next drifting thought. This is not a small practice. This is how you take your life back piece by piece. And once you begin to feel the difference, once you notice that you are no longer reacting as fast, no longer escaping as quickly, no longer depending so heavily on what happens outside, you will realize something powerful. The work was not making you less alive. It was making you available to life again. So if you want to break patterns, begin by seeing them. If you want new habits, make them small enough to repeat. If you want peace, train attention. If you want control, create distance from the emotion before it takes over. If you want freedom, stop placing your whole inner state in the hands of changing conditions. This is the path, simple but not easy, quiet but powerful. And if you stay with it, it changes everything. You do not need to become someone else overnight. You need to return again and again until the better pattern becomes familiar, until presence feels more natural than drifting, until calm arrives sooner, until reaction loses speed, until the outside world no longer decides every movement inside you. That is when the mind becomes an ally instead of a battlefield. That is when discipline becomes mercy, not punishment. That is when awareness stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like home. So the next time the old pattern tries to sneak back in, do not panic. Notice it, name it, breathe, step back, choose again, then repeat tomorrow. And the day after that, and the day after that, because change is not built in one powerful promise, it is built in repeated moments of truth. And if you can master those moments even slowly, even imperfectly, then you are no longer being carried by the old current. You are learning to direct the river. And once that begins, your life does not just improve, it becomes yours.